I had great zeal for spiritual things. My elders never ordered me what to do. They gave me a prayer rope and told me, say the prayer. Nothing more. They saw that I was a fanatic, and they didn't tell me much, not even what to read. They wouldn't let me read anything from the great fathers which contain austerities, that is, Saint Ephraim, Saint Isaac the Syrian, Saint John of the Ladder, Saint Simeon the New Theologian, and Evergetinos, etc. They had forbidden me. So, in obedience, I read only the lives of saints, the Psalter, the Book of the 8 Tones, and the Benaiah, containing the hymns for the days of each month, and that was where I learned to read from, because to begin with, I wasn't able to. But I had great zeal for spiritual things. Every so often, I would go to the chapel of St. George, which I also helped to build, and I would sing lots of the sung parts of the services. Most of all, I liked the Trinitarian canons. I liked also the hymns that are imbued with divine love, divine eros. It was a lament, a love song, call it what you like. I shed lots of tears, but they weren't tears of sadness, but tears of joy, divine joy. I was moved, I sang them beautifully. This was my life. I lived with the Lord's grace, not with my own strength. All these things were gifts of divine grace. They didn't come from my own ingenuity or from my learning, which I didn't have. It was from the grace of God. On some occasions, however, I strayed. I took some initiatives without asking my elders. Listen, in order to have purity of mind, I started to learn Holy Scripture by heart. I started at the beginning, from the Gospel according to St. Matthew. One day, an opportunity arose, and I recited to them the first chapter of St. John's Gospel by heart. When they heard it, they scolded me because I had done it without a blessing. I had waited for this moment with longing. Where should I start, my children, to tell you how I became a monk? My life on the Holy Mountain is a long story. When I had reached the age of 14, my elder called me and said to me, "What are you going to do? What are your plans? Are you going to stay here?" "I'm going to stay," I exclaimed, beaming with pleasure and joy. "Make a bow." I made a bow. Then he brought me a cassock of his own, which was old and worn and which he kept for work. It was so patched and mended that the original cloth could barely be seen, and the collar was greasy and stained by sweat. I had seen young monks in the Kyriakon. They had been handsomely dressed, and I had dreamt of a cassock like theirs. What can I say? I had waited for this moment with longing, and young as I was, I had imagined the cassock I would be given to wear, and how fine and splendid it would be. But when the time came, what did I see? A patched old rag. I was disappointed a little, for 5 minutes. I was young at the time, you see, 14 years old. I didn't say anything though. I didn't complain. When I saw the cassock, I felt suddenly crestfallen, as I said, but I quickly thought of the positive side. "With your blessing," I said, and took it. I didn't think about the matter again. I thought about the hermits who wore hair shirts and never took them off or washed them. God, therefore, gave me great consolation. I went to the reading desk. The Epistle of St. John happened to open before me, and that same day, my God, you spoke to me. Oh my God, you spoke to me so much. 2 or 3 years later, I was transferred into the Great Schema. The day before, I received another special blessing. We had to go, along with my elder, to the monastery of Megisti Lavra to obtain permission for the tonsure. The abbot who gave me the permission was very saintly. As we were walking from the place where Saint Nelus, the mere streaming, had lived towards the Lavra monastery, I smelled for the first time the heavenly aroma. The fragrance flooded over me, and I exclaimed about it to my elder. He smelled the fragrance in a simple, matter-of-fact sort of way, said nothing, and walked on. That's how we must view these things, with simplicity. I smelled the fragrance for a second time at the relics of Saint Haralambos. On the night of my tonsure, all the fathers gathered in the Church of the Holy Trinity, the Kyriakon. There they held a vigil service, chanting beautifully and devoutly, while, filled with contrition, I stood unshod. In white socks, I made a prostration to all of the fathers and venerated the icons. Then the presiding elder addressed to me the special questions for the Great Schema. My eyes were filled with tears of emotion. Once the vigil was over, we went to the hermitage. I was very happy, but silent. I wanted to be with God alone. When you are in that state, you don't want to sing or speak. You desire silence to hear in crystal purity the voice of Christ.